Today we're playing Spirit Island and exploring the world of fear. Bringer of dreams and nightmares is a deity that is interesting and complex, and we're going to try to win a solo game with him here today on Legendary Tactics. So I've been playing a little bit more Spirit Island than I really have time for, but it's proving to be a really it's just a great game. I mean, I've always liked it. I've never felt as though I've really grokked it. It's always been a bit of a mystery in terms of how to play well. But the Bringer of Dreams and Nightmares plays right into the kind of game that I enjoy in Spirit Island. For some reason, I've always really I love the fear factor. I love how that plays into the game. And obviously this deity is all about fear. And there's a lot of great flexibility that comes with the abilities and the way that, for example, placing some presence brings some elements into the mix so you can get combos and so forth. I'm finding it very hard to hold the invaders back with this particular deity. The Dahan are very useful in doing whatever crowd control you can manage. But it's a fun power to play, and I like how you get all the special powers and again, just adding fear, I think is a fun dynamic to this game. It makes it a little bit more of a race, and I'm just using my special ability to glance at the upcoming fear card, and I'm really just trying to keep the invaders in check a little bit with just trying to prevent them from building. So as soon as an invader moves one of their little soldiers into a spot, I really want to see if I can clamp down on it. Now, unfortunately, they're building away here, and I'm trying to, even as I'm saying that, but I find that, and maybe this is my fault, is that I'm playing it a little bit more in the spirit of maybe some other deities that are a little more powerful when it comes to destroying invaders and that sort of thing, but just trying to keep them in check. I mean, obviously if they're going to ravage and I've got a Dahan there, then that's a good thing. I just want them to, as much as possible, walk into their own demise. And the best thing I was able to think of is just kind of pushing everything into that one coastal sand area, and again, just trying to keep the area clear as best as possible, and all the while building fear, because again, really I've found that when you're playing this game as a one player with this particular deity, it's really about a race to the end of the fear deck. That's really the only real winning strategy, I think, for this particular deity that I'm able to discover in my admittedly limited playtime. So, but I'm going to use my abilities to pick up lots of minor powers, both as abilities and affordable ones, but also as cards that can be easily discarded if I want to get a major power and really beef things up. So I'm doing what I can to again spread as much fear as possible. That's great. And my fast abilities just give me a glimpse of what fear card is coming up, and I get to block where the explore happens. I'm going to push this soldier out of the sand, preventing the build, which is great. And the ravage is going to happen. So I'm going to basically just give it again another couple fear. It's all about fear. It's essentially a race to the end of the fear deck. And I can use this card to take out a this center soldier there, which is good. And invaders do not explore into the certain lands there. So anyway, yeah, so it's I couldn't avoid the blight on the far side, nor could I avoid the build in that sand space, but that's just going to have to happen. There's just nothing I can do with this particular deity against that much civilization. But I'm going to do what I can to, again, prevent the build. I found this is one where you're cycling through, you're reclaiming the cards, and I really like the ability to draw a card at the same time as reclaiming. Obviously, card play, the number of cards you can play in a particular round has a big influence here. Because even I could have 10 cards in hand, but if I can only play 2 of them, it doesn't much matter. So I do need to make sure to expand my presence, get some sacred sites down, just to make sure I can utilize the full scope of the cards that I have in hand. And I'm really trying to look for combos. If possible, I'm looking for cards that do damage. I'm looking for cards that push. Again, just to rearrange things in advance of a build, preferably, or you know, a ravage as well, because again, I find that this map is very difficult to kind of. You just feel like you've got a losing battle, and there's not, you know, it's a slow descent, but if you can get the fear through enough, then you can cause some damage. So there's the blight there. I'm gonna have to also find some cards to remove blight before too long. Otherwise, it's gonna be rough. Again, I do feel sometimes that with this particular deity doesn't have because the deity can't remove the invaders fast enough, then blight is that's the win condition for the invaders in a sense, because they can get so much blight down that this deity just can't deal with it. We're at terror level 2, so again, very unlikely we're going to be getting rid of cities and towns, but I think it's a good thing. And the other weakness that I've noticed with this particular deity is in sort of generating new Dahan. There is some cards that can in the minor. I think there's a minor power that converts an invader to a Dahan, but yeah, I just found like it was really, really crucial to get more Dahan. You really have to make sure that you protect them like never before. So I'm going to grab another minor power, and again, just looking for cards that might prove useful, and defend is useful, obviously, especially since in that jungle space there, there's going to be a ravage. So if we can defend against that, and the Dahan will take out a couple of the invaders, that is a good thing. So we're going to make sure to defend there, and that staves off the damage to that point. And we're going to bring in another Dahan there just to, just to make sure that we've got we're going to wipe out those invaders. We're also going to take a look at the next fear card. So we're each player removes one soldier or town, which is great. So there we go, doing some damage, but it's really unfortunately not enough. But we're pushing them back, and overall I'm feeling pretty good. It'd be really nice if those towns weren't there on the far side, but other than that, kind of holding my own. Um, Something that I found was really a big part of this playing this deity as well, is I found that reclaiming cards is a big deal, because there's just it because you can takes a long time to build up the number of cards that you can play. I found to really make great combos was not tough, but I don't know exactly what the word is, but basically it was, I found I was having to reclaim cards a lot, because especially if you really need a defense, or if you really need a blight removal card, and you can't wait, unfortunately. So there's lots of times where especially towards the end, where I'm just reclaiming and not getting much in the way of presence down, but it is what it is. So I found that this reclaiming one card, I didn't actually end up using it all that much. But not to say that it isn't useful, and certainly getting a card back from the discard, just a single card, which can be good, and it's allows another presence to go down. It was fine, but I found I didn't use it as much, and maybe that's, again, I don't consider myself an expert at this game yet, but I do want to give examples of playing this game against basically as a solo player, where oftentimes you're playing a pretty one-dimensional deity versus the invaders, and the problem is that there really isn't. I was trying to decide whether do I defend all. I had to do the math on that particular square, and ended up choosing to defend there instead, and just kind of throwing the defense in there. It didn't really matter. But I find that when you're playing just one play, like solitaire essentially, the challenge is just that your deity is typically one-dimensional. I mean, this is a game where you're generally tending to work together and take advantage of each other's strengths and minimize each other's weaknesses. However, in this game, playing just in one tiny island and you're the only deity there, unfortunately, the weaknesses of your character, of your deity, are unfortunately they're highlighted, I guess is the word I'm after. So and we've already got a blighted island, which is not good, but again, I just find that even with some decent cards, I didn't really have a lot that I could do in terms of wiping out the enemy. So I decided to go for a major power, and I found that I wasn't using the Call on Midnight's card there very much. I didn't find it was fitting my gameplay, so I was happy to get rid of that instead. And once again, having coastal and sand right after each other in that space is not good. There's that blight is going to cascade unless I can do something to stop it. And I'm just trying to think of something to help out, but not necessarily a lot of choice. I guess I can defend in the one site, but doesn't get rid of anyone, and I've got to really manage my my powers. I did want to really use my new major power card because it's especially strong. But again, just limited by 2 card plays, it was really tough to figure out which one I wanted to go for. So I hit the big space with everything I had. Still only 2 cards to play, so I was really wondering about this. I mean, the defend 20 is great, so that will at least help with that, and will generate a bit of fear as well, and defend in the other sand. But again, with blight, it is a downward spiral. I'm beginning to lose presence, and I don't want to necessarily forget too many powers at this point. I need the flexibility. So we're going to use the fear card to get rid of that town in the wetlands there, which is great. Just need something to get rid of the blight, and we're kind of again holding our own. Nothing spectacular, but we're we're holding our own, at least for now. And but now the explorer happens, and we're getting invaders right back into the wetland where we cleared it away. So and this is where I found I did run into this element of, okay, how do I defend these spots? The mountain's going to ravage. I have 2 mountains to worry about. I have Dahan there, but I kind of need that a defense. I really need 2 defense cards to really make this work. And so this is where I felt I was really running into a lot of challenges in terms of making sure that I had some opportunities to defend those territories, but it didn't really move the ball forward. And so I saw the card there to remove the blight, and I figured that's what I need. Now I got to play 2, and I got to worry about that defense. I don't have enough damage to defend or to wipe out the invaders. The build's going to happen in both wetlands unless I come up with some miracle idea. And this is where it really does become a race to the finish, because it's just a matter of holding the invaders off long enough to get some fear down. Now, part of that is destroying some cities and towns, generating a bit of extra fear that way, and so forth. So now with 3 playable cards, I've got some options, and it took me a long time to figure out and to math out what I really wanted to do here. And I figured maybe we could pull something off. Unfortunately, not all the powers are going to be fast, but we do happen to have a decent amount of fear here. So that's 3 fear. That obviously helps. Let's get that fear card in the line there, and we'll take a look and see what is the last one here. That is removes with presence town or invader. So that's okay. That'll help certainly. And we'll take. We're going to gain another element here. And really, I don't know if it helps overall, but, we'll take it. And we've got a couple of fast powers. So I'm going to clear away that invader from that wetland so to block the build. And the problem is I'm just not going to be able to defend everywhere. It's going to cost me a Dahan, unfortunately. I lose a presence again, so it's not good. But I can remove a building, a town from the coastline. So these are really working very closely together, and it seems like it's like a just-in-time system. So we get the ravage here, but we handle that. Get the ravage here. The defense holds. We do get some damage there, so I'm going to clear away those 2 units, and we're back to a town there. So again, I feel like I'm just barely holding my own. I can't prevent all the builds. So, and now as we get into this sort of mid-game, late-game stage here, where they're going to be exploring multiple locations, this is going to get very, very messy very fast. So even though I can hold the invaders back okay, there's not enough cards that are available for me to deal with this. So it's, again, very different style of deity here, but I do enjoy this deity though. As far as playing it, I think it's a lot of fun, and I love the combos. It feels like you've got a lot of actions, even though maybe you're stuck playing only 2 cards for a while. I just feel that there's a enough going on there. It's pretty neat to play. And again, even though I have 3 cards in hand and they're all good, and there's some abilities I'd love to play, I'm kind of concerned here. We've got a ravage in the wetlands, which is okay, but then we've got another build in the wetlands. So it'd be really great if we could clear out those wetlands there and in the center, but I just may not have the ability. So we're gonna see what we can do. And grab another minor power. And I'm beginning to look just for fear effects at this point. Anything that can cause fear, preferably some damage. Don't want to destroy some Dahan. So the devastating ants are not my favorite. There's some opportunities to push some towns. That one's also tempting. But in the end, I went for that one. Yeah, it's always tough to make those choices, and just making do with the cards that I have in hand. And I do need to remove some blight, so this is my opportunity that way. And because unfortunately, unless I can stop that ravage in the wetland there, that's going to cause some additional blight, which is never good. So I got to get that single card that removes blight. I have to get that one out as often as possible. And again, the problem is it's a slow power, so I'm kind of stuck that way. So I'm going to again drive some fear. Terror level 3, just need to get rid of cities. Now cities are a massive problem in that one spot. So even if I wanted to, I don't think I'm going to be able to do enough damage in order to, to be able to actually win that way. I've got to run the deck out. So at this point, I'm just trying to make it work. I'm trying to figure out, okay, the math here was very intense. What can I do here? Can I gather some Dahan? Can I, push some buildings? Can I push some, something out? And I'm thinking, okay, well, let's bring in some Dahan here at least. We got some defense against that ravage. We're going to have to lose that presence again, unfortunately. Now, again, this is kind of where the power arrives just in time. The power of the fear card arrives just in time. And I know in this, I'm contemplating the sand territory. I'm not sure why I chose that one, but I guess I thought the Dahan could hold their own in the center, but I miscalculated there. I should have sunk that building and caused that. But I guess I figured the Dahan would do the damage, and everything would be fine. But I totally miscalculated there. Generated more blight, which is not good. I'm down to 2 blight. I really need to. At least I'll be removing 1. But the problem is, the next turn, there's going to be blight potentially everywhere. Because when that wetland and mountain and everyone start blighting, it's going to be a bad scene. So yeah, we've just got we're really running low on time here. So anyway, I'm going to remove a blight. It doesn't really matter per se where it comes from, but I'm just going to take it from there so nothing cascades on me. And I'm going to reclaim my cards, and I'm going to grab another a major power here because I'm kind of desperate. I'm looking for some cards. There is this cleansing land, the card there. Anyway, it removes blight, so I'm kind of in an emergency situation. I do have a fair amount of I've got 12 energy to spend, so that's okay. And I can blow them on 3 cards, so I could potentially spend on some very expensive cards here, which is great. But I've got to think about the the defense in the wetland. So really there's 3 spots I need to defend here, and I need to figure out how to make that happen. I'm hoping, I really am trying to get some combos as well, maybe to again at least get me a glance at the upcoming fear card, or whatever I can put together. I'm looking to spend the maximum amount, get my strongest cards out there, but those might not be enough because again, there's 3 spots to worry about as far as ravage goes, and that is going to be a problem. I do have some Dahan. I don't want to lose them. So I've got the defend 5. I've got the other one for defend 20. This one does a bunch of damage, but is limited in the spaces it can be used in. So it's wetland or jungle. So it's not useful in the mountains, if I'm not, or maybe it would be. It just has to be next door. Just as I'm looking at that now, but I was really trying to just find the defense to hold on. Again, generating some more fear, not as much as I would have liked. And we're going to defend. I get at least the play of all 3 of my cards up front here. So I got to defend 20. I'm going to put some more presence there. Really, at this point, the presence is also there to be removed during as a blight punishment. So I just basically took 3 defensive cards just to hold my own and let the Han do some work. Gonna have to remove the presence. I'll just take it from a spot where it's vulnerable anyway. And so they ravage there. We do some good damage, clear out that mountain, get an extra fear. That is good. We're going to defend there. We're going to be able to take out the building for another fear. That's great again. And here we have the ability to, we're going to take out the big city and an invader. Right there. That's going to generate a bit more fear. Trying to get that through the fear deck as quickly as possible. Because the building is happening and the ravage is going to be another tough one to stop next turn. The city comes back, and yeah, the exploring begins all over the place, and I'm beginning to lose the battle to maintain my hold on the island. So this is getting to be a bit ridiculous at this point. There's no way I can cope with it. I'm being completely overrun, and I'm really torn. I've got to get rid of some blight again, and I'm just hoping that I can pull this off. My presence isn't looking that great, especially since I'm going to lose another presence this turn. So I did a reclaim because I really wanted the defensive cards back in hand, and I'm going to draw a major power, going kind of all in, looking for something that's going to be really key to turn the tide. And they've some great cards there, but it's just trying to afford it. Those big cards are expensive, even if you have a decent income. So I'm going to take that one. This one was really tough. I had to get rid of something, and I just decided to get rid of that one because I found it again. I just wasn't using it enough to justify. I'm going all in on defense and some damage, blight removal, and see what I can do to hold on as best I can here. So, because we are running out of space and time, we've got 2 jungles to worry about with no protection, and actually both mountains as well. So I've got 3 cards to defend in 4 places. So not really a lot of stuff here. But I am running up the fear. That's a big part of this. If I can just run the fear deck out, then we will stand a chance. So let's see what we can pull off here. Get some presence down there and get a... Now we uncovered an element space. So it's just something that was revealed on... I don't know why I'm getting the tutorial now, but anyway, that's the little tutorial on the reveal of the element there. Now we've got, you can see 3 cards left in the fear deck. So it's going to be close. We are definitely very close here. So this one's okay. I really took it for the combination of the fear and defense. I didn't think it was a massive deal that you can replace a house with, oh sorry, a city or a town with a lesser unit there. But anyway, as soon as I'm getting presence, it is disappearing because I don't want to lose cards. I maybe should have lost some cards, but I'm just gonna replace some, get rid of the city, I guess, here. Replace it with a town. Doesn't really do all that much for me. And remove, there's only one spot that, or sorry, remove some invaders with wherever there was Dahan. So that was pretty good. That eased things slightly for me, but I'm still dealing with some big, massive civilizations here, some big encroachments. I was able to defend 3 spots, and actually with that one defender disappearing, I was able to actually protect all 4. So yeah, it was a bit touch and go. This game was really on a knife's edge because it always felt like I was just barely getting the cards I needed to just cover what I needed to cover, nothing more. I mean, even those defense factors in the jungle, I mean, they're helpful, but they don't get rid of the invaders. The Dahan are needed there. And even though I did clear that mountain, which is handy because it gives me kind of a base for my sacred site. Again, the problem is I'm losing range all the time with these with my cards because I'm not maintaining presence. And so again, going after major power, I'm looking for fear. I'm looking for something to generate fear that is affordable. And with only 4, I mean, I took Tsunami, which is kind of silly because I don't really have a lot of money for it right now. But yeah, anyway, I just burned that defense card. The 2 defense wasn't going to cut it anyway. And I just don't have much of a presence on the island anymore. Been kind of pushed off. So so that is the Tsunami. I really wanted to try that one, if nothing else, to have fun with it. But super expensive, and especially when you have 3 cards you want to play, you don't really have a lot of time to mess around. So luckily the Winds of Rust there has a good range to it, so that's not bad. And I'm defending in sand and the mountains. Now mountains, again, not worried. Sand, yes, worried, very worried. That is one heck of a civilization on that coastal beach. And so I really was thinking, oh my gosh, like the blight situation could get really out of hand here really quickly. I'm not far away from winning with fear though, but oh man, such a crazy amount of math as you're getting into the final stretch. It really is. Looking at every card, looking how to spend every little bit of energy to defend or remove blight or whatever. In the end, I went, even though it's a slow power, I was thinking, okay, let's just use the, let's just remove some blight. It's always going to be helpful. Here's a couple of fear. That's great. Now let's use some defense. And then I realized, I took that and then I realized, oh my gosh, I can't use it in that spot. So that was kind of a bit of a worthless play there, unfortunately. So anyway, it was what it was. I needed to defend in the other sand spot as well, so might as well Put it there. Going to do a massive sacred site, 3 tall. It's like a hamburger. And I'm going to see about the the next fear card, and there's no fear cards left. So I'm literally 1 fear away from ending this game here, which is great. So let's see what we can do. Now the blight happens. Again, I don't mind. I'll take 1 away from my super sacred site. And very rarely have I actually seen that. It's generally not really a great move. So here's the cascading blight, and geez, luckily we were able to hold that to only 2. There's 1 blight left, but I was able to hold off on that. And the building happens. I have, 4 territories clear. I got half the island clear, but the rest, they're just so entrenched that it's just, there's nothing I can do to hold them off here. But let's see what we can do to cause some fear and win this game despite all the odds. I mean, this island is completely overrun, and all I can do is just weakly, very mildly remove some blight. And I don't even have that many options because I just don't have the range. But hey, blight is blight. We got rid of that. The invaders are down to their last 2 cards. I'm down to my last stretch here, the last fear card, and so I'm just looking to get the most energy that I can and cause some fear. Now, tsunami is great, but it's a slow power. I really love the idea of. I bought it. I really, really, really wanted to use it. But just wasn't able to kind of make that happen. And so I'm just going all in on defense. There really isn't much else to do. I've got the jungles and the deserts there, the sand, are going to be a problem. So I'm looking to make this combo work, trying to cause as much of the fear as possible. I believe I just need the 1, but I was really, really concerned I'd missed something. So I was going to give myself an element here, and because this was not a comfy win. This was not a win where I thought, oh yeah, I got this in the bag. This was definitely something where I had I was down to my last gasp, and so I'm gonna see what I can do. Give maximum fear here, 1, and that's all I needed. And anyway, that was I ended up getting another couple fear there. So bit of overkill, but I needed it. It was a very close game. And anyway, I hope this gave you an idea maybe of how to win. Again, I'm not an expert player. There's maybe some people yelling at the screen right now, but I had fun. I'm enjoying Spirit Island, and I hope you are too. Thank you so much for watching, and tune in next time here on Legendary Tactics.